When I arrived in beginning of November, we were in the midst of doing a budget, and the budget template that was being used was like a 140 tab Excel spreadsheet that one individual was manually updating every time there was a change or management wanted something of a different view. The vision when starting on this journey was to improve our processes. Being a part of a public organization, we had to have very reliable data that could be produced in a timely fashion. And both of those were struggles at the beginning. We had a lot of times where our data, when we forecasted, and the actuals had some pretty large variances between the two. And a lot of that was we just didn't understand the data sources that were coming in and how to manage those data sources. Part of that was also we were in a very complex IT environment where our data came from many different sources. We didn't have a single ERP system, so we had to find a way to bring all that data into one spot that we could manage and use that data to make decisions from. One of the things that we really did struggle with as a business unit was forecasting. We would forecast, revenue and profit numbers, but when it came time to actually comparing the forecast to the actuals, we could be off, plus or minus 50%. And so pretty wide sort of variance going on. And that was just because, the individuals providing the forecast numbers didn't have a clear view of what was going on sort of a project by project basis, because the data wasn't being presented to them in a way that they could make informed decisions on. It used to be we had to go find the data to do forecast or find the data to do budgets, and by the time you got all that data together in one spot and then started having the discussions if this is the right perspective or view, deadline had already passed. So it used to be an organization where the finance team always spoke to financial statements at the end of the month. And we sort of changed that dynamic where we had monthly business results where each of the operational leads actually talked to their financial statements, and sort of the senior management probed them for further insight so that we could better understand what was going on in the business and provide greater insights to the level of management above us. The system, the way it is now, you're allowed to take corrective actions during the month so that you can actually, see that something's not going right, understand why it's not going right, and take the corrective action to address that. Whereas in the old world, we wouldn't know for 2 or 3 weeks post a month-end close what actually went wrong. At that point, there is no correcting action on that specific project or that activity because it's already happened and it's done. And so, it really allows for a much more robust environment for managing projects. All the data is there. You just need to roll it up for whatever time frame you're looking for. Is it the next month forecast, the next quarter, or are you even looking at the next annual budget? All the data is just there, and you can start having the discussions with operations about, do you believe this is where we're going to be in the next, month or the next quarter? From a sales perspective, the margins have changed from previous quarter to this. Why is that? You can quickly go through the project, say, okay, that makes sense. And so it was more providing the value-added discussions around a forecast or budget versus all the time spent just rolling up the numbers. And so that's how the tool completely changed the dynamic of always being the business unit that was late on everything to being the business unit that could be first on just about everything. Things that you can definitely measure and determine an ROI on, from time saved on processes. But I think where the ultimate value is when a number is presented as being, here's my forecast, people will actually go, okay, I'm going to believe that number. I don't have to go, okay, ooh, what's the real number going to be when the actual month closes out? And so it's the trust factor has gone up exponentially. In this type of a project, because it's a transformational change quite often, there's going to be tough days as you're going through the project, but just always realize that the end goal, everything will be much better if you stick with the agenda. The ultimate recommendation I would make is, know what that end goal is. Always keep it in sight, because you are going to have to, make adjustments as you go throughout the project. But the adjustments shouldn't be changing the end goal. The end goal should stay what it is, because that's the reason you're doing the project. So if you clearly articulate that vision throughout the project, you can make the adjustments, but the end goal or the goalposts aren't going to change. And I think that's the most important part of when understanding that when you're embarking on this type of a project.